believe the Bitcoin miners are going to become a major story next year. This is another place where the traditional finance world. So if they can't invest in the Mag 7, they're going to look in other places. If they look to Bitcoin mining, they probably haven't done their work. We have a gas turbine and a transformer shortage.
Jordi argues is one of the key tailwinds for Bitcoin. As trust in fiat systems erodes and governments continue to run deficits to manage social pressure, Bitcoin's appeal as a non-political, scarce store of value grows stronger. Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space, and drop your comments and observations in the comment section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
The last 5 years, the next 6 months have been good. And I think there's a lot of people who were kind of timing the end of October as the end of the halving time and things were going to get dicey. There's a major story, in my opinion, that's shaping form. So I've talked about being wrong on where Bitcoin would be at this point. And it surprised me because of the network effects that were happening, but also everything that was happening on AI that to me is directly related to it. But one of the things that became obvious to me this year is that for Bitcoin to really be making the move that we all think it should be, there actually needs to be a lot more acceptance by people outside of just corporations and treasury balance sheets. Because that's, honestly, except for MicroStrategy at this point, the majority of this is kind of this zombie type thing that Saylor talks about. It's not a big number. It's not something that when you add them all together is enough to really drive a major price move. To drive a major price move, it can't just be retail. They're not big enough. It's a big enough asset now. So if I think about what drives things like Oracle and Tesla and big companies like that, Bitcoin's bigger than most of them. So it needs to actually have a lot of energy and heat behind it, which means we're at the stage now at this size that I think the traditional finance world needs another group in. So my mindset that I use with everything is that prices lead narrative. So I focus on what the narratives will be 6 months from now. And to me, it's very obvious. And I'm just going to go through for you kind of what I see happening now that is a major story that we've talked about. So everyone who's watched this all year, none of these are going to be surprising, but I think they're all coming to a head now. So the first one is the job situation. So there's no doubt we have enough data now. It's not just the BLS numbers. It's all of the soft surveys that I cover in my weekly videos. People feel bad about their job. And regardless of whether it's 100% artificial intelligence, AI has an impact to it. Your brother and I talked about it last week in terms of all of the things that happened in the month of September and how crowdsourcing is now saying that AI is coming. 3 of the 4 largest employers, private sector employees in the United States of America, Walmart, Amazon, and Accenture. Accenture had a big layoff announcement this week. All 3 of them have publicly come out and said they will be laying people off or they have laid people off. And number 2, that they don't expect to hire anybody in net over the course of the next few years. And they're all saying AI is part of it. There's a bunch of other companies which we don't need to go through, but the pressure is growing on this belief. We had the ADP number this week. It was negative. There's no doubt right now that the job market is an issue. And this feeds into a couple things. Number one, for the jobs market, that means the discontent for people is only going to worsen. So anything disruption-wise that's coming, if people are not able to pay for housing and they can't do this is going to be an issue, which puts pressure on the administration in a year of the midterm elections. So I don't care what kind of printing goes on. I don't care if it's giving people tax rebates out of the, whatever it is. There's going to be checks going out. There's going to be help on the housing side, because if you want to win elections, and that's the whole thesis that we've talked about in terms of Bitcoin, the discontent in the system, the profit margins are going up and the people are losing their jobs. So this is going to be a story that will only worsen next year because AI agents are coming. Number 2, so even talking to retail traders, a lot of them have jobs and they're doing this on the side, and they feel that it's their obligation to try and make extra money because they know they're not going to get it at work. So this mentality of I'm losing to the system and I need to do whatever it takes and be an entrepreneur and fight for this and go through it, whether they're doing it and they're retail traders and they're making money, or they're just angry about it and they're voting ways towards it. it's all positive for this. I need a new system that's better for me. And I think you're going to see that with voting next year. We have the mayor election in New York coming up. We'll see what happens. Number two is the spending side. So I've talked a lot that one of the things that will get traditional finance people to invest, the hedge fund side, to focus on AI is if the Mag 7 aren't an easy investable asset. And that's, to me, starting to become an issue. And that's funny to say when they're at all-time highs, but not all of them are. And the spending side is going to be an issue next year. These companies are spending lots of money, and I can feel the pressure building as they are releasing everything. It's like a fireworks show right now. OpenAI releases a bunch of news items. They release new tools. Claude came out with a new tool. The Meta glasses came out. Apple talked about getting rid of Vision Pro and doing glass. They're all trying to do something to collect revenues because their spending is going to go higher. And most importantly, the electricity prices are going higher. So their compute costs, all of this stuff is rising. They are going to need to have some kind of revenues come in. And if there's any spending issues that become a bigger question as their free cash flow goes down dramatically, people have to remember that the Mag 7 are a huge part of the global investment side. I don't think people fully grasp how much they matter, but this is where I'm going to bring it into a weaker dollar. I think the dollar is going to weaken because of this situation. The revenues of the Mag 7 are going to be distributed to startup companies very gradually. Cursor, Replit, these companies all have little revenue streams that traditionally would go to these guys. I don't care what tools they bring out. They're in a race towards having lower cost on things, and they're going to have to start raising prices to match up with the GPU cost, because the GPU cost, electricity is getting more expensive. So they're going to start having to charge people, corporations, more money, and the corporations will pay it. So they're going to get revenues in. But I think the question of their valuation and free cash flow is going to become an issue next year. I believe power and compute is the places that people should get into. If the Mag 7 are having trouble in revenues, and I won't go into large detail here, the dollar is going to weaken because the number one correlation between dollar strength has been U.S. exceptionalism. U.S. exceptionalism can be broken down by one thing: the Mag 7 and the dominance on coding.
In his words, this is just a representation of where we are in the system. The deficit isn't being fixed. Spending is only growing. And as the world wakes up to this new reality, Bitcoin becomes the rational alternative, the one asset outside the reach of fiscal mismanagement.
And if coding is now ubiquitous and it's democratized, the rest of the world's entrepreneurs who are very hungry are going to create little businesses, and they're going to eat at the revenue stream. They're going to have no expenses. And these companies are finally doing one thing, which I've always said was the thing that changed the investment horizon. They're starting to issue a lot of debt, because they finally have reached the point where that software world doesn't exist. They need hardware for the software. And when you need hardware, you need debt because you need capital, you need big buildings. So when they're talking about trillions of dollars of spending, this is very new for the Mag 7, and not all of them are going to survive through this. One more thing, just to finish it off. This power situation is really important for AI, and I believe the Bitcoin miners are going to become a major story next year. This is another place where the traditional finance world, so if they can't invest in the Mag 7, they're going to look in other places. If they look to Bitcoin mining, they probably haven't done their work. We have a gas turbine and a transformer shortage. We need peaker plants. Bitcoin mining is a major positive tool for grid optimization. China has built all of their renewables. Solar has been a huge part. Even in the US, we're still building solar. To me, solar, batteries, plus Bitcoin miners are going to be a package that people are going to start to understand has to be part of this equation. And as part of this equation, that means that the hash rate, as it's going higher, if Bitcoin price were to fall, and some of the miners who are still major holders of Bitcoin would need to sell them because the price went down, people are not fat. As they become part of the grid optimization, two things happen. Number one, they have a new revenue stream that's coming. And that revenue stream means they don't need to sell Bitcoin as much because it's not their only business line. So they're diversified. The second thing that becomes very important is pension funds have viewed Bitcoin as anti-ESG. And if all of a sudden now the E becomes a positive for Bitcoin because they're actually helping the energy situation by forcing more renewables to replace dirty coal, and they get another point. So I think all of these things will be narratives next year, and the price of Bitcoin, if I'm right on that, should start to go higher because it should start to build that in. And I think Bitcoin miners are going to become an important part of the puzzle now. And I've never mentioned them in a positive way on the show. I hate to say what I'm about to say, but the reason people in the markets know that this doesn't matter is because it always ends the same way. It just ends at a time where they're both going to lose. And that time, according to prediction markets, is in 2 weeks. And I think the prediction markets are pretty good at this whole thing. And I think actually, since you brought that up, I don't want to end this episode without some kind of talk on tokenization, even if for a second. And the reason that triggered my mind is because of the prediction markets. People have to understand that the way markets are deal with things is, number one, is this new news or is this old news? This is old news. This happens every single time before a midterm election. Like, it's like clockwork. Number two, is it going to end with any big thing or whatever? No, I don't think it is. Is it a signal that these two parties have to continue to print money? Yes. There's no way to avoid the fact that we have a socialist move happening and we have a let's run it hot to grow our way out of the debt move. So on the one side, we're going to be giving free stuff to people to satisfy the fact that they can't afford enough. And on the other side, we're going to run the economy hot to hopefully try to grow our way out of the debt. The reality is, for everyone involved, this is just a representation of where we are in the system and the frustration that comes down to when you have a huge debt and deficit problem and it's not fixed in any way, shape, or form. If you go through the way we started this year, the conversations you're having, are we gonna fix the deficit? We're gonna get this down. We're gonna go through it. And right now we're at this point of the year, and all we've done is agreed that we're gonna spend more money, do some little cuts here and there. Doge is gone. It's not even a thing you hear about anymore, even though there's stuff going on. And AI is racing down and jobs are getting disrupted. So I think people get frustrated by this because they're like, this is gonna do nothing for me. For market participants, unless something dramatic happens. And dramatic would be something along using it to fire people legitimately, like you're at a job and you're not going to get a job after this, then maybe there'll be some market reaction, but it's not going to change earnings and it's not going to change the economy. And unfortunately for people, that's the main story that comes out of it.
So whether you're an investor, an innovator, or simply someone trying to understand where the future is headed, the message is clear. Watch the intersection of AI, energy, and Bitcoin. Because the next great market story isn't about any one of them, it's about how they converge.